Yours bounces too? Mine bounces.
This is weird though, it's not, okay. Yeah, I'm not figuring that one, okay.
He's not here tonight, right?
He texted me, he's like,
Yours bounces too? Mine bounces.
this is weird.
Time delay there.
Hello,
That's the YouTube.
hello.
But it wasn't a dialogue.
For sure. Okay. Oh, yes.
A little bit of diesel fuel we used this month, last month, huh?
Hello? Testing 1, 2, 3. What? I bumped it with
It's your new gavel.
my new gavel. I'll tell you that. We're good.
We wonder. Yeah, I shoveled all of it, every bit of it.
Well, Larry and I started.
I was waiting for Tyson to look up.
Well, I noticed it was messing with Dave's hair. It was getting all wet.
Tyson, he didn't even look up. It didn't even, I thought he was gonna say, "You're gonna let Dave get away with that?"
So you got out of that truck. Attaboy.
Oh, I get it.
Oh.
You got it on.
Recording? All right, let's call to order this regular meeting of the Pleasant View City Council this Tuesday, February 21st, 2023 at 6 p.m. Welcome, everybody. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, opening prayer by myself. Please stand and join me in the pledge.
The United States. Nation. Indivisible with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful to be here this day to conduct the business of the city of Pleasant View. We're asked that thy spirit will be with us, that we will be able to make important decisions in a very rational and good manner that will best serve the residents of our community. Father, we're grateful for the moisture that we've received. Ask a blessing upon those out working in it, police or fire, public works, watch over and protect them as they have to battle the old elements. Again, we're grateful for all that we enjoy in these favorite blessings we pray for in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, item 1B, declaration of conflicts of interest. If you had a chance to review the agenda, is there any conflicts to declare? Seeing none, we'll move to 1C, public comment, questions for the mayor or council. Anybody from the public wish to address us? Seeing none, we'll move to item 2A, 2B, the consent items, the minutes of January 24th, 2023, during the packet, and the bills of Pleasant View City during the packet. Any changes? Concerns? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent items.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent items for January 24th, 2023. For the minutes, sorry, and the bills.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Marriott, second by Yuri. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 3 is Pleasant View boundary adjustment. Discussion and possible action to consider adopting a resolution of Pleasant View City's intention to adjust the common boundary with North Ogden City at the city limits at approximately 3475 North, 98 East, related to Rock Point Estate subdivision, resolution 2023-C. Amy? Okay, no problem.
It's total for a resolution. Brought it up there. The main thing, the rest with this is shifting the lead underline is not find the property line. So you definitely, the property is more lot for it now, neither part. Because you're in hiring this.
I just have one question regarding Exhibit A. So the little triangle that's got the arrow in, that's the piece which will leave Great Lot 4, basically, of Rock Point Estate. The piece right above that, the Cami F. Marriott Living Trust, is that appears to be in North Ogden. Is that correct? And is that going to come to us in the future when they try to make the adjacent property? I mean, or is it supposed to be now? Yeah, what I'm asking is, seems to me it would make more sense to take care of both of these right now, both those triangles.
That's an action they have to take, right? But it says that on the paper, boundary adjustment from North Ogden to Pleasant View. Right? It's showing that on, you're showing that on your map.
Yeah, with that triangle there. So I'm not certain, on that. But also, they've been doing some long line adjustment already. And I think both of these are part of it.
Okay, I just want to,
I think it's on.
okay, all right. Yeah, that's what I too, but the exhibit really didn't call it out, so.
Yeah, they were giving us kind of pictures and I had not draw, so it was more reasonable. It was little. So yeah, Larry's got a map here that has both of them on it. I think, I wonder if the yellow highlighter just didn't show up in their packets. Oh, you don't see the yellow.
Oh, okay. No, we don't. So,
Well, is the,
all right, good. That answers the question. No, that's fine, as long as we're addressing it. It's just my map.
Do we have to accept it into our that piece or?
Well, I think it makes sense to,
Yeah, it makes
Swap
sense. I
those
just
two
wonder
pieces.
what the action should be because if you're giving some to North Ogden.
So the action this evening is that people of the resolution, once the way this process works with state law is a resolution has to be approved. Then there will be. Right now, this resolution.
Okay.
Definition, we can ensure, that.
Yeah, that's-
Color highlighter is what's posted.
yeah, so that the public, when it goes to the rest of the process, it's not, because you can't tell on this map. So, yeah, so.
Does it have to be a public hearing to do that? Or is it?
I think, there's.
All right, so this is just get the ball rolling, so, all right. If there's no further comments, I'd entertain a motion, resolution 2023-C.
I'll make the motion that we approve resolution 2023-C.
Second.
Motion by Mary and second by Arrington. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, isn't it, for a resolution? Arrington,
Yes.
Yuri,
yes,
Marriott? Yes. Steve, Mr. Gibson, thank you. All righty, motion carries. Thank you, thank you. Did it, took care. Thanks. Welcome, Matt, from our youth city council, Matt Bowenbrook. Good to have you here.
Yeah, how are you finding time to be here? I hear you're in the Les Mis. You got a lot going on.
he's married.
Yeah.
Thanks for making time for us.
Sorry.
Anyways, we're taking notes.
All right, thanks. Item 4 is the Monte Vista Estates, discussion possible action to consider adopting an escrow agreement. Do you want to take these one at a time?
I'll present them all together, but then we actually do separate actions That works okay.
All right, let me read them all in, and then
Perfect.
item B is discussion of possible action to consider adopting temporary turnaround easement. And item 4C is discussion of possible action to consider final subdivision approval for Monte Vista Estates. Amy.
Okay. Wow. With, and, I think we're obviously, or, it's actually back in July, whether it's, as it shows on, but maybe it's not, just. That's really strange, yeah, and so, sorry. Yeah, it-
You can come
I
sit up
think
here
it's
by
the
me.
microphone itself. Okay.
By me, Amy.
And then
Bring it in.
Out Ann for a minute. Thanks, Ann. It's okay. It's kind of buggy tonight, so I don't know if we want to mess with it much more.
Oh, this one will work. They're all, the microphones are sick of hearing me talk, so they're ignoring me. It's understandable that I have to sit in the chair now. So it's exciting to finally get this kind of pulled together and wrap, and appreciate the developer and the coordination with the city on that. So before you this evening, and you'll notice an escrow agreement. We've got another item with the agreements for those, but just the standard typical language, and then the engineering estimates associated with that. We've got the discussion of possible action for a temporary turnaround easement in order to allow for the development to be constructed, and then final consideration of the Monte Vista Estates subdivision. And can you scroll down to the map, Larry? I'm sorry. Sit up here. Thank you, Larry. I think there is. So, well, oh, right there. So that's the subdivision map. It shows the different lots on there. I don't know if there's any questions. This is next to the Matthew Meadows that they've also been working on.
So there are some recommendations here. Staff recommends approval along with conditions listed below. 1, satisfy staff review and plat red lines, and 2, work with adjacent property owner Matthew Meadows regarding utility connections.
And we got the utility connections address. And the other one, actually, we didn't have any final red lines.
So we don't need to worry about the conditions.
No,
Okay.
So where's the turnaround, temporary turnaround? Is that at the bottom of this road that's there? I'm assuming that's what that is. That's on Budge Farms, isn't it? Yeah, that'd be great. Well, I guess there.
Sure, yeah.
We're doing this in conjunction with. Well, some people say it's not.
just above.
Yeah, just about. And there's gonna be a cul-de-sac that's in there. What we did is we actually already built. We can already doing it. Anyways, it's built there, and so instead of creating something new, we just did an easement and Matthew Meadows for the cul-de-sac.
Then it'll kind of blend in with the development. Any additional questions for the developers? He's here.
That's great. Okay, so let's take item A first, which is the escrow agreement. Any further questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the escrow agreement.
May I make a motion that we approve the escrow agreement for Monte Vista Estates?
I'll second.
Motion by Mary and second by Arrington. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 4B is discussion of possible action to consider adopting a temporary turnaround easement. Any No questions? I didn't.
Should I keep going?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we adopt the temporary turnaround for Monte Vista Estates.
Also,
Motion by Marriott, second by Arrington. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 4C is discussion of possible action to consider final subdivision approval for Monte Vista Estates. No further questions. I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the final subdivision for Monte Vista Estates.
Second.
Motion by Marriott, second by Arrington. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item 5 is Flock presentation. Presentation regarding Flock license plate reader technology. Gardner and Chief Hadley. Turn on the chief first
Yeah,
here.
just let me introduce Craig Gardner. He's with the Flock Technologies. He's got a really neat program and equipment that a lot of the agencies are going to now. And we wanted to do a little brief demonstration for the city council. It's a license plate reader that they put throughout the city in different locations. That any vehicle that is wanted as stolen in connection with any kind of serious crime, and the license plate can be associated to that vehicle. It could be a suspect, it could be a wanted person, it could be a stolen car, it could be drug traffickers, kidnap, whatever. This technology, I'll just let Craig, he'll probably do it more justice than I will. I'll massacre it. So thanks for coming, Craig. We appreciate you.
If I need to get closer to my.
I don't hear that.
Can you tap it? No.
Tap mic.
On group 1, channel 1. There it goes. I just had to move it the right way.
Larry fixed it.
Well, hey, the guys, thanks for having me out here. I've lived in Utah in the past life. I'm out of Arizona, so every time I come, you guys are super nice and you turn on the snow for me. So I appreciate that. So I'll give you a quick rundown of Flock. I know it's a little echoey. Let me see if I can fix that. Am I doing something?
Turn it down a little bit.
just the way it interacts with speakers in here.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Is that better? Can you guys still hear me okay? Perfect. All right. So Flock is we make technology, specifically license plate readers. We make other technology and we work with police departments. We haven't always done that though. So from a slide standpoint, I guess I'll just kind of lead in with where we got started. So we actually started with our founder in a neighborhood. What was happening is they would have break-ins and they'd have all sorts of things happening and the police would need a license plate. And they would say things like, hey, did anyone see that white pickup truck? And everyone would go, oh yeah, he broke into this house, but they needed a license plate to be able to solve the crime. So what happened was we looked into a way to make license plate readers much more inexpensive than they have ever been. And we used machine learning to actually make them really, really smart at identifying vehicles. Within the first 30 days, we actually were able to recover vehicles. So if you could hit the next slide for me. I'm just going to kind of have you rapid fire a few of them. So the problem is,
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Long story short, everywhere in the country, crime is going way up. So everywhere in the country, the crime is going way up. We have limited amount of time or limited amount of people to help solve that problem, right? Limited amount of officers, things like that. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. This is just kind of talking about crime increase and what's happening statistically nationwide. There's a lot more crime. There's a lot more things happening. Fewer people to do it creates an issue. Go ahead and hit the next slide for me. So Flock is a solution for this. We do license plate reading. If you can do the next slide. I feel odd without the clicker in my hand. You know what I mean? Like normally I go through and I'm like, but now I'm like, okay, I can't hit the So we're always on a mission to eliminate crime. Go ahead and hit the next slide. I normally jump around a little bit. Here's what I'm looking for. So what we do is we make these license plate readers. They sit on the side of the road. They use cell units inside of them. They use solar panel to stay on. So customers in the area like Ogden, North Ogden, Weber County, even down to like Clinton and Roy and several other folks in the area, especially south of here, up and down the Wasatch Front, use this technology. So I called one of the detectives over at North Ogden and said, hey, anything recent? And he told me he couldn't release a lot of details. I was like, hey, I'm going to go counsel. Anything cool come off the plate readers? And I guess they recently used them in a homicide investigation that led to arrest, which is great. They're primarily used in three ways. The first is proactive. So the police department has access to an FBI database called the NCIC. In order to be on there, you have to be like an Amber Alert, or you have to be like driving a stolen vehicle or some sort of material threat to the community. Like if a police officer were to run that plate, they would pull that person over because they have a reason to do that. So these are constantly checking against that. So if stolen vehicles come into the area, this will send a text message and notification to your patrol officers saying, hey, you have something potentially dangerous coming into the area. The second way is kind of where the magic is for us as a company. It's investigative. So we have what's called vehicle fingerprint technology. We can actually use machine learning to identify a vehicle based on attributes of that vehicle. Wheel wells, emblems, how many doors, size, all sorts of things like that. And so as a license plate reading technology, we're actually reading vehicles. So when someone says, hey, did you, like Springville had a package thief with a white sedan. Hey, did you see that white sedan? It was being a porch pirate. You're able to go look for a white sedan and develop leads that way. It doesn't mean you're pulling over every white sedan or flagging every white sedan, but it is a way to develop leads. It's really effective. Springville was able to catch that guy. Go ahead. Perfect. Thank you. So one thing that I really want to point to beyond the vehicle fingerprint technology is if you look at this photo in the top right, that's actually straight out of our system. You'll notice a couple things. First of all, it's the rear of the vehicle. It's objective information. It's objective. It's an objective photo. It's the type of vehicle. It's the make, the model, the color, that stickers or roof rack. There's nothing in this photo that says anything about a human at all. It's pointed at the backs of the plates and it gets the information. The other thing is it's not doing any traffic enforcement. So as a company, we kind of came out of working with neighborhoods and then ended up working with police departments a couple of years later. We're really careful with how we protect privacy of the community. It's something that we're very passionate about. So go ahead and do the next slide for me. So we talked a little bit about what it is. It gets license plates, it gets vehicles, it helps us solve cases, and it helps us identify threats. But what it's not is, I think, really, really important. So again, it doesn't do facial recognition. PII, and that second bullet on the right side, not tied to PII, is personally identifiable information. So that's nobody's going to know who's coming by. In order for an officer to search this, they have to have a reason, a case, or some sort of investigation that they're doing. They have to put that reason in. That's all tracked and kept in an audit log. But it doesn't come up and go, oh, that's Bob Smith. It essentially says whether, if they're looking for a plate, whether or not that plate was seen or that type of vehicle was seen. They have to use their other systems in their investigation to determine who that might be and to follow up on their leads. It's also never ever used for traffic enforcement, something that we will not do, even to like suspended licenses or registrations or things like that. And then the other thing is it automatically deletes data every 30 days. And that's really, really important for protecting privacy because of a couple of reasons. First of all, we're not the owners of the data. We are the custodians of that data on your behalf. And so because we don't own the data, we can't sell it, and nor would we ever. But it's essentially not going to be used in the way that some of this technology has been used in the past by other various companies to collect data and then sell it to insurance agencies or insurance companies, collection agencies, police departments. That's not what we do, and it's not what our mission is.
I would assume that the police department has the ability to flag data to not be deleted if it's a part of an active investigation.
Absolutely. To work around the 30-day rule, They would download that information. So the scenario would go like this. I have a stolen vehicle that comes in and it alerts me that there's a stolen vehicle. I get the text. I'm able to go pull over that vehicle. I have reason to stop the vehicle. And I can continue my investigation. And so when I have that investigation, I'm taking the information in, or if I'm looking for that same, like a white pickup truck that was taking packages, I can look for that information in the system. I can pull it down as part of that case and store it as part of my case on my record retention system. By my, I mean the police departments, right? Couple things on here. Really, the big things around this that we haven't talked about yet is just from an IT security side, it's top notch. It's AWS GovCloud. It's the same as all the Alphabet agencies use. It's a very, very secure cloud storage for this information. This is our transparency portal. So a transparency portal can be put up on your website and says, look, here's what these do. They're not traffic cameras, they're not getting people's faces. Here's exactly what they do. So the community can come here and say, how are these being used? How are they not being used? What's the sort of data going through the police department? And can I get access to the police department's policy on exactly how they're using this tool to keep the community safe? So this has been very, very popular. Okay, so we're probably getting towards the end of the slides, but this is just data from Ogden. They were nice enough to share from one of their months. So relatively close by agency. And this is the sort of the data that they're seeing. Gabby Petito was confirmed coming through Ogden not too long ago. We've had several other examples. If you can go to the next slide, and maybe rapid fire a few of them. This is a homicide and a suspect in a stolen vehicle with a baby inside. The next one. Centerville is a recent customer. They're piloting some of our cameras right now. They were able to solve these cases even without cameras in their immediate jurisdiction, and we're working on getting them cameras up and running in their jurisdiction. This one is from Tempe, Arizona. This is a pilot that they ran, some of the results that they got. So long story short here, and then there's a ton of other case studies that we can go through. This will probably be the last one. We'll stay here. This one was actually a stranger on stranger child abduction at gunpoint. So what that means, it's very rare. It means that somebody went with a gun and took a kid from a mother forcibly. We recovered the child very, very quickly using some of the technology that we have with the vehicle fingerprint technology. And this type of thing happens all the time, not only here in Utah, all over all the U.S. I'm very familiar with Utah and Arizona, so that's where I'm from, and that's the areas I travel to often. We just had a similar case where a 14-year-old girl was recovered from Wyoming in La Paz County, Arizona, via an Amber Alert. So, any sort of questions about the technology? That's a high level of kind of who we are.
What's the A stand for? Active? Or what? AL?
ALPR.
Yeah.
It's an industry lingo. It's from back in the 90s. It stands for automatic. And eventually they decided like the automatic was implied, and so they just go to LPR, right? So I guess what we're really proposing is being able to put I believe it's 7 of these up in the area. We've worked with the police department to find some strategic areas of ingress. Be able to test them out, be able to get some good results for the city. The cost before April 1st right now is at $2,500 a camera per year. That includes all the maintenance, all the software, everything goes into it. So it's relatively inexpensive. North Ogden has 10 currently, and then the installation cost is about $350 per camera at one time.
Are there any in North Ogden that connect to Pleasant View that could be kind of a dual usage? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So because I can see both maps and everyone's very cooperative, not only would we connect it to North Ogden, who, like, if I have a camera pointing at traffic coming in, maybe they get one going out. So we've designed the map with that in mind. The other thing that we've done as a company is it's not our data to share, but pretty much every agency in Utah has said, hey, there's another law enforcement agency. I'd be happy to share my data with them internally. So they've done that. So you'd be automatically connected to their cameras, and to Weber County has a bunch of cameras, Plain City, Mary Slaterville, West Haven. There's a lot of cameras in the area that you'd be connected to.
So one camera isn't looking both directions. One camera, you're only going to get one direction on the road. So
Yep.
you're saying.
Yeah, one camera monitors 2 lanes of traffic in one direction.
Part of that is we don't really want people's faces.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's the side. We just want to do it on It makes sense.
Is it, and cameras are inconspicuous? I mean, what do they look like? I mean, is it,
Yeah, so the camera, and usually I bring it. Today I did not, I apologize. But they're about like that, and they're about that thick. They have a big battery in them. But the idea came from that original neighborhood story. The idea came from putting a cell phone or an Android tablet up on the corner of our founder's yard. And we sold to neighborhoods for a couple of years and did great. And the police departments came and they're like, hey, so we're seeing objectively like our crime data in those areas is coming way down. And our clearance rate, how many cases we solved, is going way up. Can we get in on this? And we're like, yeah, we should. And we grew super fast after that. But to answer your question, they're relatively inconspicuous. I live in Gilbert, Arizona. It's right next to Queen Creek. I have approximately 50 cameras in my immediate vicinity of my neighborhood. And I forgot about a couple of them. I was like, we should really have a camera here. And I like drove by that same area after I'd been there for like 6 months or so. And I'm like, oh, I forgot we put one here. Like, and I'm the one who put the camera there. I didn't physically put it there, but I designed the map with them. So
I have one in the corner of Wrecker and Ray. I've got a son that lives there. We'll make sure he's.
Wrecker and Ray, so we're putting some on Power, right? Power and Pecos is getting a couple new ones. Do you know where the LA Fitness is? That's getting some. I don't know. Yeah, we have some right in that area. So some on both sides, but Santan is going to be covered in them here shortly by the Costco. And yeah, it's been good times. They've been very successful in that area too.
All right. Thank you. If you don't mind, I'll just chime in a little bit. Thanks for coming, Craig. I appreciate it. I've worked with Craig a lot, and we've actually had a rash of birds. What was it? Probably a few months ago. And we were able to identify the suspect vehicle through these block cameras. Because what happens is other agencies, they're really good about letting us use them. Basically, we would be tied in with theirs too. So we can say, hey, we got a plate. Let's see where that vehicle went from here and work with other agencies. So we have actually already seen some success from these just in the other agencies in the county that have used them as well. But real quick, what the benefit I see for Pleasant View, a huge benefit is, because I always look at stuff like this and like, how's it going to, we've seen how it helped this agency in Florida and this agency. How's it going to help us here in Pleasant View? And the way I perceive it is, what it does is as soon as like a stolen vehicle comes into the city, because we're going to put them on the entrances of the city, it will alert the on-duty officer right then. Say, hey, a stolen vehicle just came across 2700 and entered at 1500 West. That officer would then say, hey, there's a red Nissan that just came into the city, or in our case, it was a white pickup that is stolen, just came into the city. 9 times out of 10, our vehicle burgs, especially when we get a rash of them that hit 10, 15 cars, they're in a stolen car doing those burgs. So that our officer would say, hey, that car just barely came into Pleasant. So he would go drive through the area looking for that truck. And, chances are nowadays they're going to see that and they're going to take off. We're probably not going to pursue them, but it's going to get them out of the city and get them off away. And what I'm really perceiving is you're not going to see your nights where you have 10, 15, 20 cars all hit by kids or people in a stolen vehicle. Because hopefully our officers will see that and be able to go down, start looking for that car, and like in our case, when you do have that stolen vehicle come in or any vehicle for that matter, do those vehicle burgs, you're going to have some suspect info because you're going to have that plate, so that's kind of a practical.
Sometimes the citizens will give a description of a vehicle. I heard some noise, I looked out the windows, saw a red Nissan, they're breaking into a car. We'll say, geez, we had an alert on that vehicle 30 minutes prior. We can pull it up. Also, now we got a plate on it. We got a description of it. Check the area. Coordination with other agencies. Someone comes up with the driver, and it really narrows down suspects and information we're able to get. It's a huge tool for solving crimes and preventing crimes.
Steve, you had a question?
Well, I mean, that's all good. Anything that can catch the bad guys. But I'm just skeptical of how it's going to really function. We can do all the studies we want to do. And your hands are so tied right now with everything. It just makes me so frustrated that bad guys can't just be slapped around and put in jail. I mean, you know,
slapped her.
no, I want to be slapped around. I know I'm being recorded. I want that to be known. These thugs do not belong in our city. Somehow lock them up or get them. You know, I want to catch them, and this is all good. You know, cameras are good. All these different things, but I'm just skeptical of really. You know, we're going to put $10,000 worth of cameras or whatever it's going to be, or what, 2,500? I can't remember what you said. 25.
It's 2,500 a camera. Yep. So if you did 7, it would be 17.5 a year plus a piece of
20 grand, whatever.
Yep.
I would hope that it would be a benefit, but I just don't see it. You know, and I know you're in the business to make money here, but it's just, I don't know. I hope that it can be done. I hope we can get the bad guys out, keep them out. You know, our city needs to be registered, you know, as a, you know, carry city or something. We're protected by 357. I'll carry that 357 and don't come in my backyard. And I do want to thump on them, Mayor. I'm sorry.
And Steve, to be honest, like Amy, Craig, and the chief would tell you in the meetings they've had with me, catching the bad guy when I was brand new, that was what I was wanting to do. It was so fun. I've been a detective for 10 years now, and it's like the fun of that has gone away with what you're saying. You know, they don't, most of the time we arrest them, they get killed.
And they walk
Like,
out.
so the fun of catching the bad guy, that's not to take away from this, because that is a very important part of it. For me personally, that's the fun of that is gone. For me, it's preventing. I'm leaning like everybody likes things for different reasons. I love this because I love the idea of that. I look at our cases. Most of your property crimes and your victim crimes, you know, people stealing stuff, people breaking into houses, people assaulting people is so many times in a stolen vehicle, a vehicle that's listed stolen.
Well, see, then you need to put it out there at every intersection. And
so when that stolen vehicle comes in,
we've got this technology that you can't.
Over time,
the license plate is going to be tagged. People are going to say, "Well, that goes against my privacy." Well, if you're doing right, you have no need to fear. It's these boneheads that are stealing the cars, coming into our, you know, taking from our, stealing whatever, taking the cars out. I mean, I really,
hopefully,
I don't want to thrill, but I want those people to know that they can't do it here.
Hopefully over time, they say they got those cameras,
then great. But I hope that we don't get into something. Sorry, Mayor, go ahead.
Do we use that as a deterrent? I mean, advertise it? Is that something that's common in cities?
I see it go both ways, actually, a little bit. I see sometimes they put it out there with the transparency portal. Sometimes they don't say as much about it. It just depends on the city and the community. But what I think is really important, kind of back on the lieutenant's point, what we see a lot of, and I failed to mention it in my PowerPoint, but the third dot of that PowerPoint, there was the proactive and then the reactive, right? The investigative. But the third is the deterrent. It's when I have just, you know, not to jump on your analogy, but if the thief knows that they're jumping in the backyard where the guy has a 357, they're less likely to jump into that backyard and go to the next guy's, right?
You know, and I would want to do something. I wouldn't want to be locked into some big long year contract with this, because I would want to see some data that shows something.
And Chief, if you don't mind clarifying the timeline,
Pardon?
would you mind clarifying the timeline and
Yeah, this is just
informational?
he's going to present this at budget, and
Yeah, it's something that we just wanted you to hear about. You know, because we want to know when those stolen vehicles enter the city, rather than they enter the city and we don't know it. So if we know it, we know what they look like. We have on our computer a picture of the car, the license plate. We know it just entered the city, and all of a sudden we're proactive on this, not reactive after it does a burglary, and then we try to go find it.
but more to come.
Yes, more to come. I wanted you to hear the technology. We're going to talk about making it a budget item, and we'll decide or not decide whether we want to do this. As far as from the police department point of view, it would be a big help to us identifying people as they come in, not hear about it later, then can't find them. So
All right, thank you.
Just one other question. Are they, it's basically a service. They're not owned at any point. It's kind of a lease, I guess, on it. That's how it works. Is there any ownership to them?
Is it a year-to-year contract or?
We can do a year-to-year contract. So if we want to do a 12-month, in fact, yeah, so it's a LPR as a service is what we call it. So it's literally, we come out, we do the installs, we charge for the installs, and then that the fee for the cameras covers all like the cellular and the solar panels and all that sort of stuff that's involved in that. And so we put those up, they run year round. That's how Ogden's are. Our retention rate is nearly 200%. So Ogden started with 10 cameras, they now have 43. We see it just on average across, and that's more than our average, right? But on average, our retention rate goes way up because people go, wow, I can put these in the area, and they really do a great job of statistically lowering crime and helping the police do their job. And it's a lot, like they mentioned, it's a lot better for the police when they find the vehicle that they're looking for, instead of just going, hey, you have a description of a car? We could really use a license plate. Let me know if you find the license plate. And then it just kind of dies. The investigation does, right? It's the opposite of that. Like now we can pursue that and then give the town the reputation of like, hey, we're really serious about enforcing this here. Don't come here and do this. And see that crime reduction come.
We sat down, identified the major roadways in and out of the city. 2700 North, is main thoroughfare from North Ogden to far west, east and west, 89 east and west, 600 west, Pleasant View Drive, 1000 west. We identified the 7 major key roadways that this could be beneficial for through traffic. So that's where we came up with the number of 7, trying to keep it minimal, but not let anything get past us. We want to make it effective, not just, well, if they pass this one up by the gravel pit, we've got them,
When they come into the city, what's the speed of how fast the information gets to you? Is it really usable that quickly? Or?
It comes through in 15 to 20 typically, sometimes as low as 10. It depends on the latency in the area at the time and a bunch of cell towers and things, but it's very fast. And then as a reference, like we can have you guys talk to, like I have the police department talk to the users at Weber County or Ogden or even North Ogden and these other places to make sure like, everything's copacetic because I'm the sales guy, right? And, it is what it is. Like you should check independently, but there's not a customer in the US, not one certainly in Utah or Arizona that mind you guys calling and talking to.
One of our officers actually,
we can share data with the other agencies. We hate to ask for data and not be able to share data. So, North Ogden, far west, Weber County, Ogden City, we can share our data with them. They'll share their data with us. It'd be a big cooperative agreement between everybody. And it could be a really good thing. I'd like to give it a try and see how it works. But.
All right, more to come on that. Thanks, Craig. Thanks.
Thank you guys for having me.
Betsy.
Thank you. Drive safe.
Hey, I'll try to get down to Draper. We'll see how it goes.
Good luck.
Thanks, Ben.
Good. Item 6A is Weber County election discussion of possible action to approve the interlocal agreement with the Weber County Clerk's Office to provide election services for the 2023 and 2025 primary and general municipal elections. Larry.
So I'll just bring it back.
Okay. Do we need to table it or can we just strike it off? Okay. And 6B is Weber County Children's Justice Center discussion of possible action to approve an interlocal agreement with the Weber County for the allocation of $50,292.71 in ARPA funding to support the Children's Justice Center. Amy.
Thank you, Mayor. So before you this evening is an interlocal agreement with Weber County, and it's for the CJC, who is a nonprofit organization that is actually housed within the county as an entity. So the money would actually go to the county. The agreement outlines the need for such services in relation to the pandemic and the funding received for that and also verifies that the funding be used for ARPA-related purposes. So I don't know if there's any questions. The agreement that was provided is the same that was provided to other cities surrounding.
So have we provided funding to the CJC before?
We have not in this manner.
This is a one-time out of ARPA for the construction of this new building. They're building a new building. Currently, they're in the, I think it's Eccles, an old Eccles building, one of the, 24th and Van Buren. It's one of the old Eccles mansions, I believe, and they were out of space in it 10 years ago, probably 15 years ago. So they came up with this thing to use ARPA money, which makes sense. It's a one-time money from the federal government. Basically, they asked all the cities to use a small portion of what we get. And each city is, I believe all the cities are doing it.
I think the only city I know that hasn't yet approved it is West Haven, and I think they're on the path to consider it.
I don't know if one of you two want to talk about CJC briefly, because just the value.
I'll let Stetson, he's over investigations and his detectives work out of CJC a lot.
Yeah, that's how I knew the address. Made 1,000 trips there over the years. CJC is a pretty special place to me. I mean, that's where your victims go of child abuse and child sex abuse. It's Children's Justice Center. I'm really glad to hear. I talked to Rod Layton, who runs it here a few weeks ago, and he appreciated us being on board with helping to build this new building. They have been outgrowing it for years. We've just been getting by down there. So it's really good that that they're getting that new building. But basically any victim of child abuse or child crimes, special victims unit, that's where we go down. They actually have forensic interviewers. Our detectives are certified, and so am I, to do the forensic interviews, but they have ones down there that do it around the clock, all the time or every day. So it's very used by us every Thursday. They have a staffing list where we go through and who was interviewed and what the case is looking like. We have somebody on there just about every single week. So we're down there weekly doing interviews for kids out of Pleasant View, cases out of Pleasant View. So it's very important that they get it.
They have nurses down there also.
Yep. Now they have the nurses down there that do the exams, and they do the exams on abuse or whatever it is, kind of case it is. So they also offer they take care of offering the services to the families that need them. So that's very helpful. It's like we have to have it to continue to have a special victims unit here in Pleasant View. So
too bad we need it, but you're right.
It's too bad that we need it, but it is essential to our cases. I mean, all the big cases that I've worked were through the Children's Justice Center. So
Housed there too temporarily, or is it they don't stay there, right?
No, the victims are usually so a lot of times they're housed at their house unless the perpetrator's there, and then through the CJC and DCFS we take care of getting them. So yeah, like that's one of the first steps in a case is doing they call it a safety plan. But the CJC is mostly used for the exams, the physical exams, and the interviews, the forensic interviews. And like I said, I'm not really sure where the new building is going. It
was a piece of property, I believe, that the state or Weaver School.
Yeah, it actually is clarified in the packet.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of a long packet on this, but I just included all the information that we'd received.
Yeah, they've got by about as long as they could possibly get by.
And they've got a picture of it. It looks kind of house-like. It's what they're looking for.
Yeah, it's a parcel of land currently owned by the Ogden School District located at 1845 Jackson Avenue.
Fair.
All right, any further questions? If not, then entertain a motion.
Mayor.
Look good as well.
Beaver County Clerk's Office. No, wrong one. To approve the interlocal agreement with North Ogden. Where in the world?
And,
I have it on the agenda.
Yes, I'm so sorry. And Larry even reminded me. So we did have a correction on this. We had a little bit of a hiccup and did have a correction. You can use mine.
Okay,
I got it.
approve an interlocal agreement with Beaver County for the allocation of $2,292.71 and ARPA funding to support the children's justice center. Very good.
Okay, motion by Yuri, second by Gibson. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Get them that money. All right, 6C, the Northview Senior Center, discussion possible action to approve an interlocal agreement with North Ogden City to provide operational support for the Northview Senior Center. This was an item that was tabled 3 weeks ago. Back for us today. Do we need a motion to take it off the bring back or? Yeah.
With some specific requests from
Yeah, which we have, yeah. So just, yeah, let's just do that as formalities. Somebody make a motion to bring it back off the table.
you just saying,
Yeah, just make that motion as stated
Okay.
by the mayor.
oh, yeah, I'll make that motion. It's
All right.
by you. Take that item off the table. I'll say that.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Okay.
All right. So you did ask for some information, Amy?
Yes, so appreciate the dialogue, and obviously this is still the council's determination based on the information received. We do have on the agenda also a budget amendment, and one of the items, I guess, and again, this is completely up to the council, that was discussed with the mayor and myself, though, is the possibility of looking at both the agreement, well, not both the agreement with North Ogden and the funding provided to the nonprofit associated with the senior center separately. Just something that could be used as a consideration. You'd have the option of doing one of either or both, or none, just depending on what the council's interest is with that. But just wanted to throw that out there as an option with the budget on as a public hearing this evening. So there were a few questions that were brought up and asked to be explored. One of them, which was if other communities who have residents utilizing facilities would be reached out to. And that outreach has occurred. I know Harrisville is looking at some possible options with that. There has been no interlocal agreement approved with that. And I believe there's been a little bit of contact with Far West as well, which is interesting because they have their own recreational facility. Ogden City has some residents that utilize that, but they didn't believe that Ogden would be willing to participate because they also have their own senior center. And so with regards to the question on would they be assessed a higher rate, ultimately the answer was no, because this is really a service to provide meals and different things to the residents. And so they didn't feel that that would be something they'd be doing at this time. Not at this time, no, would be the first ones. They did provide, and I know that there were questions, so specifically, and this was good clarification, that no capital improvements would be addressed with this funding. So the $12,000 would be utilized to help with the general budget for the center. And so they provided a breakdown here with building maintenance. That's just the annual day-to-day maintenance of the senior center. The city of North Ogden paid $17,826 last year. Utilities, roughly $18,000 for the senior center. And then for the senior center personnel costs, which they actually contribute to based on their agreement with the county, is $28,000. So for their contributions to that, total $63,826. And so 20% is what they're anticipating with our residents, which they are asking for 12,000, but it would actually be almost 13,000, $12,765.20. So I guess the question before you this evening is whether or not we feel that the city should contribute to this for use for our residents.
So I just want to make sure I understand, 12,000 is not the total of 5,000 for the activities and 7,000 towards North Ogden for the facility. It's 12,000 plus 5,000, right?
So the, in discussing with the mayor is the 12,000 toward North Ogden for the facility expenses. And that's the annual operation costs with utilities, maintenance, and then personnel. So you'd have the option if you wanted to continue the 5,000 for the nonprofit as well, which would total for the senior center from our budget to 17,000. That's an option as well, if you'd like to separate and break them out.
So my questions aren't answered from last time, honestly,
Okay.
because we had a question about, this is once a week. Really? I mean, isn't that how often they meet? Every day? So they're every day.
Have dinner once a week, lunches 4 times a week. Right?
And it's a portion of the facility, correct? I mean,
Yes.
I've not been there, Paul. I'm not to that point yet. Maybe the chief might be close, but
55.
But my big thing was, I do want to give the money to the actual seniors that are there. And so if Sarah's comment there is it's going to be now 17 instead of 5, now it's going to be 12. And I think we need to pay our fair share because 12 is a lot cheaper than building a whole new facility. And I don't want to reinvent that. So that's not necessarily the issue, but I just want to make sure that we do take care of the seniors, that funding is not pulled from them, because that's kind of what we talked about also before, is either or. Now it sounds like we are doing both.
Well, not necessarily.
So what I asked,
The option.
It is.
what I asked or what I stated to Amy was, we're trying to pair two things up here that while they're both related to the senior center, they're two completely different things. One is an agreement with North Ogden. The other basically is a contribution to a 501(c)(3). And I said, I'm not sure how we got into that originally. We do no other 501(c)(3)s. So we need a whole discussion about that and how we want to continue forward with, and it's a little different from others that have come and asked for money because it is for seniors and the senior program. I don't have any problems contributing money. I just have kind of a problem marrying the two together and saying, well, one's taken away from the other.
Well, it's like our Heritage Foundation. They're very similar. They're going to be that, and so we're going to contribute to our this new senior center or whatever, or the Heritage Center. But and I know that the county, and this is also my question, in Salt Lake County, the county takes care of the senior centers that are all throughout Salt Lake Valley, all the county. And I know that the county also contributes a lot to the program. At least that's what was talked about last time.
And the county does in this case, they pay for part of the staffing costs. I think it's half of it.
And the one thing I was concerned about, again, marrying the two together, we are the only city of all the cities that have people going there. We are the only city that contributes to the senior program. Nobody else does.
The $5,000.
It started when we did this, I'm not quite sure why he did it, but he did. And it's a nice thing. When Toby, we didn't do it for that.
Okay.
So.
No, it is. It is. Sure.
To help, make decisions and things like that, but I'm not sure.
My only concern again is trying to marry these things together.
Maybe they should be separated.
They weren't a 501(c)(3). They just recently came on.
So are they charging our residents like $1 or $2 or anything like that? And did we talk about that being an option? Like if our seniors want?
Yeah, and they didn't want to do.
They just ask for donations sometimes. when you come.
Yeah.
Because some people really need those meals and they didn't want to.
Right now, they have almost an $80,000 balance in their account.
And it pretty consistently stays that every year.
And-
They go to fundraise and.
And sure, they can use our money. They really can use their money. I'm not trying to speak against it. What I'm trying to speak against is trying to marry these two. They each need to stand completely on their own because
Yeah, North Ogden, just for clarification, does not give them anything
nobody does but
for
us
anything. They pay for the building, that's it.
and half their salary.
The seniors they fundraise, they pay.
But the cost for the building is more than we provide because I mean, it's 64,000 roughly.
That's the other answer to that too. That building's not just used for seniors. The Kiwanis meet there, they have city meetings there, they rent it out, they do all sorts of things there. It's not just.
We were told that this represents the senior portion of it.
I
and
wonder how
no-
they approved that.
Well, I don't know. I'm going to have to trust them, you know?
Yeah, so.
I think we have to do it. I don't think we cannot do it. That's the problem. It's horrible. But we've got to take care of, we got to throw something to the seniors, I think. If it's a good program, if they can get out and, do a few things, I don't know if they do hikes. I don't know if they do.
Well, having come from a city that provides a full senior center, I think if you're paying $5,000, $12,000, even $17,000 in total for your seniors, you're getting a pretty good bargain.
Are they, do they know, do the residents of Pleasant View really take advantage of that and know that I know we have a few people that are going, but is there other people that we could, if we're putting some money and skin in the game, can we let some more people know that is?
We could do an article in the newsletter. Yeah.
Graphics every day, and I'm like, I can't keep posting these because this is getting obnoxious, but they do so many things.
We probably ought to do a reminder in the newsletter.
We just did for the month of February. We did it,
Uh-huh.
did you know?
We did.
All right.
What? That was.
So what's your druthers here?
I agree, Mayor. I think these two do need to be divided. I think that it's a maintenance issue and agreement, whether we decide on 12,000 or whatever. What is it? 12? What is the number? 12,000?
So 12,000 is the requested amount from North Ogden. And one of the things, and just to clarify too,
You just said,
It said it was 12,700.
so that's almost 13.
well, that's what it,
They just rounded it to 12,000 for the for our agreement.
Okay, gotcha.
So Mayor, I think we should, I'll make a motion that we support the Northview Senior Center with North Ogden, hopefully have some oversight on what they're spending, so it isn't just giving into a black hole, but I think that percent.
I have the codes from their budget if anyone's interested in the breakdown.
I don't know. I don't feel comfortable going with the full 12,000 though. I don't think that like, for instance, like the utilities are being used no matter what. Like, I feel like 12,000.
But if that is the senior center share, but that's what the mayor just said, that he's taking that as,
When we asked
That's
them,
the
that's what they
indication.
said. So.
But
do we want to have a more exact thing? Because if we ask for a more exact thing, the cost could go up.
Well, but we don't have to pay it though. This is just.
We don't have to pay it, but it is the North Ogden Pleasant View Senior Center. And I can see coming from North Ogden's side that they are saying, we're fitting this whole bill. And we're saying, well,
Agreed.
North Ogden, yeah, go ahead and do it. We're glad that you're doing it.
Yeah, I think my opinion personally, this is me and we can discuss it, but I think that, we should come somewhere in the 8,000 range for the first year. Kind of let them kind of prove to us what they're using it for, make sure they're being good stewards of it. We can always go up, but I think that let's keep our 5,000 going to the seniors and then, send about 8,000 North Ogden's way. That's my opinion, but.
Is it a one-time interlocal or is it's a annual renewable?
Yes, they should too. I'd rather shorten.
Yeah, because
I don't like to-
It's 5.
so that, those are absolutely things you can adjust as a council. So if you'd like to consider a lower amount and a lower term.
60,000. I mean, if their total cost was 60,000 or whatever it was, 12,000 is a fairly good.
Yeah, 63,820.
And how many of our residents are attending? How many Pleasant View? Did you say that?
20%, they said.
I guess.
So it's 20% of 60,000 or
So of that amount, it's 12,765.20.
That's my thought is even, so it's not like we're not going to pay, but if we were to say, no, that's too much, it's not like they're gonna say, oh, okay, then we're gonna kick your people out. We can negotiate here.
Well, I think the fair thing, if we were asking them for the same money, I think the dollar amount, the 20%, I mean, those things have come up and it is $12,000. I'm going to make a motion.
Wait, what about the fine?
We're going to separate that and that's not going to be part of
We
it.
will find that number
We're
8.
not taking money away from the old people.
Yeah, so I'm going to make a motion that we pay the $12,000 that's been requested, which is our share of the cost of the Northview Senior Center. And
Steve, would you consider going down to the 3-year instead of a 5-year?
I think we could do a 3-year and I would like to see some billing and stuff like that that make sure that we are giving. And I want to be fair. I think that's the right thing to do.
So see some building stuff. Do you want them to provide some documents?
Well, I'd like to make sure that is the senior center portion of the cost. That it is, the heating and stuff, because the heat's on all the time. They just pulling some numbers.
And I don't know, just from a budgeting standpoint, and Larry, you correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know with like the utilities, if you really can separate and break that down and say, oh, you just use the drinking fountain,
Well, anyway, I'll make the motion of $12,000 for a 3-year time frame. I think that's fair. And we can reevaluate in 3 years, but that locks us in for this part. This has nothing to do with the 5,000 that we're giving direct to the.
and we'll address that, during.
We'll address that later.
I'd like to address the term though. I know that sounds good, but it may backfire because in 3 years they might come back and say it's gone up to 15.
And I agree with that.
There is a termination clause in here with 90 day notice. We can say we don't want this contract anymore.
And we're out.
And we're out.
And what do you think? I mean, I would say the 5, just because that locks us in and it's not elevated in 3 years.
I mean, that's fine with me too. Although in 3, even if they do come back and say we want more, we can just say no.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Either way.
I would just support Ann and her common sense things. I would say let's do 3 and see how it works. As my motion. Is that good enough, Laurie?
You got that, Laurie? I'll second.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, so the budget for this, we already budgeted the $5,000, right? So that's the, yeah, so I want to make sure, yeah, but I just want to ask about the 5,000.
We don't have anything in the budget right now, right, Larry?
Not
Just the
the 5.
5,
Yeah,
yep.
so we're gonna.
Which is, number 8.
Pick that up, police department.
Were there any other questions we didn't answer? I did want to make sure that we answered all the questions that came up.
No, I just think that we need to just tell North Ogden, like, we want to see the numbers going forward. Like, we want to make sure that like our contribution is going to something
And
legitimate,
that our population is still
attending. Yeah.
attending.
A good idea.
And so I guess, I know Steve just,
And I'm not saying I don't want to see every bill. I just want to make sure that that's going to, it's just a little bit of an accountability, but I don't want it to come back and all of a sudden have them tabulate all this stuff and we're going to owe 20,000 or whatever. I mean, I think it can go that way. But if we show our due diligence and good faith to this, because I want to support the seniors. I think that part of our community, the Children's Justice Center, I mean, that's an important part, but the seniors also. So anyway,
Okay.
we have a motion by me.
Yeah, I second you.
Second.
Okay, so motion by Gibson, second by Arrington. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 6C, no, hey, sorry. Item 7, equipment purchase, discussion of possible action to consider the purchase of 4 generators.
We just spent all your $12,000, sorry.
You're gonna have to go get some free meals.
I needed a lot more though. No, this is for 4 sites. 2 of them you're adding new generators, haven't existed, and 2 are replacements and some modifications. And so I reached out, got the state contract, which is held by the Generac generators. They came in at $61,000, $161 $725.
What makes the old ones go bad? I mean, is it just time? I mean, they're sitting out there doing nothing for most of the time. You start them up once a month.
Yeah, they have a test every week. They fire up and do a self-test. This one, the city offices was used when they originally put it in, and it's plagued by issues. It seems like whenever you've had to use it, it fails to run. Something blows or
But don't you start it up once a month?
every week.
Every week?
Runs for 30.
Hey, Tyson, will you help me understand what we're using the generators for? Is it for the water pumps or what
So
are they used for?
the one site is the city office. So it would pick up this building, run the server. It's going to have some electrical work we're going to have to redo. This isn't the construction portion of the project. So I'll have to come back when we go out to bid to do the actual construction. But the generators have approximately year lead time. So we're ordering them. They're coming in a year. Somewhere in there, we'll go out to bid. So you'll definitely want to get into the sites because we don't want to order them if you don't feel the site warrants it. Because they're coming. So the one's the city office, and we're going to work in a way to pick up the south shop. That was pretty easy and it didn't come with a significant cost where they're already linked. You've got both their main powers come in next to each other here, and then they branch out with your transfer switch.
What are we gonna do with the old ones?
Just send them to auction, most likely, just surplus them. Because the Alders is still a decent generator. I don't know how much the city office one will get you, but they'd all just go to surplus at the auction.
They're all gas or are they diesel?
No, the Alders is propane. So we have natural gas, propane, and then the majority are diesel. This one will be diesel. These two sites, especially where you have the diesel tank for the city shops, is right there. So you can keep them topped off pretty easily.
Drop them off, or who does that?
We do. It's one of our, yeah, so the utilities crew, when they're doing their well site checks, they check the levels of the generators
How often do they do that? Weekly or?
3 times a week by rule of the state.
So these kick on when the power goes out.
Yep. So you got the city office, that one will pick up the north or the south shop. The new site would be the north shop. A replacement is at Alder, is the propane generator. And then the new site at Well 4. Well 4 wasn't equipped with a generator. It's our only source without a generator, and with the trying times with water, all of these have been on the books for years, but we figured we needed to get this going. We're probably behind on all of them, really.
So how much do we have in the budget?
So all of them came in under budget. They all have their own line item. The lowest one, because they're all different projects and have a different level of installation. I think the closest one was the new shop. There was only 9,000 left. But the city office in the south shop, my thought was because those are in that same budget GL as the leftover in that one, which sits around 30,000. You could pick up the difference of that building because they're both coming out of that equipment. The other two water sites are coming out of the water budget.
I did notice part of our public hearing coming up.
Is each one or something?
All four.
An increase to for 45,000 in the water fund for the Alder Creek one. So was that not budgeted originally?
Which one? Sorry.
It says in our upcoming public hearing for amending the budget. Add to the improvements construction budget the purchase of a generator at Alder Creek in the amount of 45,000 in the water fund.
Oh, that one got, it dropped off and I wasn't, sorry, I forgot about that. Yes, that one had to be put back in and it shouldn't be a problem for the overall budget of that one.
Okay.
In there and somewhere in last year's, it dropped out for whatever reason.
What's the lifespan of these two?
If you keep up on them, it's the ones that have been in place and don't have issues. So the ones at the water sites, they have an annual contract. They come service them and they can last for years. I think.
So this, I mean, this one, you're going to replace this one right out here, right?
Yes.
So how long has that been there?
When was this building? And it was supposedly used at the time.
That's with, that was installed with the building.
And Alder's the only reason. It's been a while. It was pretty close.
So is this amount being requested? We already have it budgeted.
All but Alder's.
And
Yes, there is a reason.
Yes, it's earthquakes. When you have that disaster, that's utilities probably not going to be available either.
Westar Gas is going to go supply us gas through anything.
Yes. Same with power, water.
Power's flaky.
All your critical infrastructure needs to be.
I'm counting on gas the whole time.
Yeah, we have two of them and those are the two I wouldn't count on in a real disaster. The only thing those are going to bail you out of is just a straight power outage issues. But you get into any of the real disaster and it won't do you any good.
Biden's going to take away our ability to produce diesel.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
I can't.
On that note, go ahead.
Yes. No, and you might.
yeah, can I jump in really quickly before your motion, Councilmember Arrington?
Some people can't handle the seriousness.
So today Tyson received word from another company who had interest in bidding on this, and it's a reputable company that we worked with in the past. We don't know what amounts their bid is going to come in at, but the thought process was, because we'd already had this on the agenda, having the option and the flexibility to have an approval of an up to amount. Obviously it would work with this contractor, but for the same specs, everything is identically the same, but just this is the state contractor, just another option to possibly lower the price and the expense of the city.
Only if you will go back to the original. I have problems with that because now they know what the bid was.
I mean, other than tell it, I didn't show them this. So
It's,
I just,
A public record right now.
I called it out.
I get you.
Oh, I did. Yeah, then the amounts have been called out.
I did the total amounts. So yes.
That's not fair. We can't do that.
Did they already send you the quote or no?
He did. I didn't vet through it for the specs yet. That was the part I wouldn't, because it's a long list of specs.
Right.
So
you already have the quote in hand.
I do.
When you post.
I was going to request to table it because that was coming in. And so it was.
The entire packet or just the agenda?
On the public notices website, so.
I think we should table this, let Tyson go over the alternative bid and just see what the numbers come up.
I'm fine to table it as well.
Because you've got the bid already.
Year-long lead time
Would not be affected by this numbers.
Okay.
But I would like to see if it's close, as long as Generac is a great, I think we need to stick with the Generac, but I don't want to go with some Craftsman or something.
No, and that was the part when we were talking about it. Like, I have no issue using the Generac either. One of our newest one is a Generac.
Well, and if there's any, I guess to the mayor's point, and I don't know, I kind of lean to caution, but if there's any chance that the information could have been available or, you know, was publicized before we received the quote, then it may be best that we proceed with what we have.
I understand. Yeah,
Has
I
that
have no
happened?
issues with
Has that
Generac.
happened? Has that happened? Is there any?
He knew that Generac holds it. He would have gotten the same specs for our individual site, so.
Is there anything that would be negative on our side for holding it up?
I'd just say from an optics standpoint, it looks really bad to receive the quote the day that it's on the agenda. And not that that's a reason to do it, but I think, you know, I don't know how they could have gotten information or if they had, but just.
Yeah, because he
Cleaner
would,
for everybody. I mean,
just to go with the state.
I've got some discomfort just with the comment that the mayor made to.
Well, I still would like to table it. I'd like to look at those numbers and see what they are. If they're substantial, we can put it out to bid again or something.
If they were all accurate and their specs were accurate, you're talking a few thousand difference per site.
All right, Mayor, I'll take my motion back for tabling. I'll put a motion out to purchase the generators as stated with a four generators as stated with 160, whatever that
161,725.
I'll second.
Motion by Gibson, second by Arrington. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tyson.
Item 8 is a public hearing. Discussion and possible action to consider amending the 2022-2023 fiscal year budget resolution 2023-D. I'd entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Uri, second by Arrington. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing. Amy presenting this or Laurie?
Yes,
Oh,
I'm
Hi,
happy
Chief.
to. It's
okay.
the resolution before you this evening addresses the various items. And so one of the things that, based on the prior discussion, will need to be clarified within this, and it goes back to the Northview Senior Center. If there's a wish to continue the 5,000 that was already included, just taking that language out and then adding $12,000 participation fee. So the other items included in this, we recently had signature from the North Ogden Canal Company, the irrigation group, for our maintenance agreement. So the 10,000 there for the annual contribution. And then let's see.
Didn't we do that as a 3-year deal?
Yes. No, we haven't
No.
paid him and they just barely signed it.
Okay, part of that too, though, aren't we going to receive some invoices and things like that? We're not just going to give them that.
So the agreement does not require invoices. It included a presentation that they'd come in and annually present what they did with the money after.
Oh,
So sorry on this resolution. The city wished to modify the annual 5,000 donation to the Northview Senior Center to an annual donation of 2,000. That is mine old.
we're shaking.
No, that's right.
And an annual 12,000 participation fee to North Ogden City.
So we just,
So we'd want to change that to wishes to continue the annual, if 5,000 is the amount that the council wishes, the annual $5,000 donation to the Northview Senior Center.
They looked at agreement years, or we already did that.
And then an annual participate.
Eric, since you're you're the contact there with the senior center. I mean, do they? I mean, what are they doing with that $5,000? I mean, are they?
They do plan all that.
Well, I mean, no, not necessarily, but are they?
no, compared to, it's a good question. Like I said, we're the only one participating. So our money
They put it in.
compared to everything else.
Pays for all of their activities, that pays for their dances, their crafts, their lapidary, their, taxes that they provide, every activity, they put it in that.
So can we encourage other communities to?
I think so.
I don't mind giving them $5,000. I don't want to cut them short, but I don't just want it to be a $5,000 gift that they.
Right, and they account for every single cent.
And you feel comfortable with that being.
I do because we give very little and the rest, they hold on to their money so tight every year. And they do a big fundraiser in the fall, their fall boutique, and that keeps their ongoing fund with the 5,000. And they pretty much have a base around 75 to 80,000, which just stays.
So sorry, back to my point here. I don't understand where the 2,000 comes in.
That was a suggested reduction or what?
Yeah.
The discussion we had last time, 2,000.
Okay.
So that's what Amy was saying. They would change the wording to take.
So the wording that I modified that to, if comfortable, is whereas the city wishes to continue the annual $5,000 donation to the Northview Senior Center and an annual $12,000 participation fee to North Ogden City.
Okay.
And then it would also include the elimination down in the section 1, decrease the senior center programming, because that wouldn't be modified.
We need to say that per interlocal agreement, but that's the line above that.
Agreement, right? So that.
I would say we can take all reference to the donation completely out of this. It's not something we're changing.
Well, it is an increase of $12,000.
Yeah, so that's.
But the other donation
That
doesn't
is-
need to be referenced.
separate.
It's already there.
So just take it out.
Yep, it can be
So
absolutely.
whereas the city entered into an agreement with North Ogden City to annually participate 12, for all. Yeah, and so there's no,
Again, we're not tying them together.
yeah, not tying them together.
Okay, so there are some other items on here as well. Sorry, I don't know, my mic is either really soft or really loud tonight. So there is an increase in the overtime budget for the police department from 60,000 to 75,000. And we've been working closely with the police department to modify some approaches to reduce that, to make sure we stay in line with the modified amount. Increase in vehicle maintenance in the general fund streets department of 16,000 to 39,000. And then adjusting net revenue expense for the general fund reserve to account for the above increases. Laurie, did I miss anything? Oh, on the back, sorry. Adding a contractual service budget line item to the storm sewer fund in the amount of $10,000. Again, that's for the maintenance with North Ogden Irrigation Company. And then improvements to construction for the generator at Alder Creek, which was referenced prior. An increase to the disposal garbage budget at the solid waste fund of 175,000 to 194,000. There's been a major increase in tipping fees with that to reflect for that. And then also an increase in the budget for Econo Waste Services to account for some increases there for fuel and tipping fees as well.
Garbage is,
So how much is this together?
Does this get us through the end of the fiscal year?
With the
garbage and
yes, with the
yeah, so
tipping fees with
the
both.
tipping fees actually went up January 1st. The county has taken January, February, March out of their solid waste account, basically.
It's like $200.
What's $200?
All of it together
Oh.
that we're taking.
So they decided they would just do that at the recommendation of WACOG, recommended they do that. And they looked at their budget and said, yeah, we can probably do that. I honestly voted against it because I didn't think it was fair that the city should ask the county to eat the first 3 months. You know, it is what it is. Every city has an enterprise fund, but anyway, they got approved. So it
The
takes-
total amount is
April.
106,000. Sorry.
That we're increasing? In spending? Oh,
50,000 out of the general fund,
okay,
and then 10,000 out of the storm sewer fund.
okay, so that's fine.
Yeah.
So I was just.
And also-
General fund, but you're taking it from other funds.
There's several factors on the police overtime budget. One, well, two major ones were Officer Down or Sergeant Doan, who, as everybody knows, was off for about 6 months and had his shift cover for that. And then,
Another injury from an
another
officer.
injury. Was it an ankle? I was trying to think of what it was.
Broken ankle,
Broken ankle. Yeah.
off for about 6 or 8 weeks.
So hopefully we won't have any more of those.
We could take that, maybe we discuss that, but the second line from the bottom, the 5,000.
Yeah, we'll take that right out, strike that right out. So. Okay. Yeah. Any public wish to address this? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to.
I'll
close
make
the
a
public-
motion that we go out of a public hearing.
Second that motion.
Motion by Marriott, second by Yuri. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're back to our, any questions, comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we adopt amend the 2022-2023 fiscal year budget. As stated.
Okay, perfect. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
By Gibson, second by Marriott. Roll call vote. Arrington,
Yes.
Gibson, Marriott,
Yes.
Yuri,
Yes.
Nelson's excused. Thank you. All right. Item 9,
Okay,
improvement guarantee agreements. Discussion of possible action and consider approving template agreements for each future improvement guarantee option for developments. This has been a while coming, but we've kind of informed you that it was coming so that we could make it a little simpler and more consistent. So Amy.
yes, so, as earlier on the Monte Vista item, we had the improvement guarantee agreements, for an escrow agreement. And typically with different projects like this, subdivisions, we have these improvement guarantee agreements to protect the city for any improvements that don't occur to city standard. And in recent meetings, we also modified city code to reflect Utah code 10-9A-503, which requires multiple options for improvements. And with modifying city code, there were 3 options identified, one of which can be used beyond at $1 million or higher. And so then the other 2 options are also included in this, providing for 2 options at all times for this. The 3 options: corporate surety bond, cash bond, or a letter of credit. And so with that, we have before you the agreements for these. I had an excellent suggestion from our city engineer. So we will actually be making these into Adobe fillable forms to see where the gaps are. And so that there won't be modifications made. If there are modifications requested at any point, those would come before the city council for additional consideration. And so we do have before you an escrow agreement. This is language that you've seen quite often on repeat. And then our letter of credit language also, which is very similar but specific to this bond agreement here. And this is the option that can be utilized for projects with improvements $1 million plus. And the third option is
Corporate security bond.
it's a corporate security bond. Thank you. And corporate surety bond, sorry. And again, very similar to the other 2 with language and requirements, just specifying the different types of financing utilized in each of the different agreements and allowing for ready access and use. This actually is really helpful as of recent, when we expanded our options, we've had some developers that haven't qualified necessarily for some of the different options. And so this would give them the option to basically go find out what they qualify for and come back and get the agreement.
Does any one of these leave the city wanting more than others? I mean, are they all, we just want an agreement at some point.
Yeah, but states, yeah, they handle a little different. The state laws, the governing, we used to have, just like she mentioned, just
the escrow agreement, but in 2019, they modified state law requiring that we at least provide two options. And I will say, based on our interactions, and we really haven't done much with the corporate surety bond, but I've heard and
Let's just say, they have the corporate bond or the surety bond, if they go bankrupt or something, do we lose?
so then the bank becomes liable. So if somebody signs off for that, I mean.
The
it's
easiest,
we have a
the hardest one actually is the one we've been using, which is the escrow, because I think we have to draw against the escrow. We have to continue. Where the
Isn't
other
that,
is just
but
a
isn't that
guarantee.
escrow, that's true money somewhere in something, right? I mean, these others are fake money. I mean.
Well, not necessarily fake money. The letter of credit is actually rather difficult to get. We've again had developers that have not been successful with that. And with the surety bond, it's pretty similar, because if that person doesn't hold up, the bank ultimately the bank is responsible for anything that doesn't. They provide documentation that this is backed, and the city has use for it. The nice thing with the new two options, frankly, is that, to the mayor's point, the city is not required to manage these accounts. And so with the escrow, we're releasing funds as improvements occur. This would give us a little bit leeway with not having to manage the improvements along the path.
So it doesn't take as much administrative work on these other.
It does reduce administrative work.
I see options, but it still safeguards the city, making sure that they're working with the.
And exactly. And we still require documentation from the banks and the signatures for these agreements to protect.
I made an assumption, which always gets me in trouble. So just, I want to ask the question. I made the assumption this has been approved by our legal, or has not.
With the two agreements, the third one, and I can get verification from legal on this. It's ultimately the same agreement as the line of credit, except with the surety bond language.
I would just like, since they're, it's kind of an agreement everybody's going to be, and we're kind of accepting it as a standard, make sure we get it passed through.
I can get approval of
Make the
legal, and if
motion.
there's any modifications, bring it back to the council. I'm happy to do that.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve these two new forms of I don't know, what do you say?
You want all three?
Yeah, so it's.
Okay, all three, but we're adding the three with the
There's,
Improvement guarantee.
approval of our legal.
yeah, improvement guarantee
Got it.
agreements.
Got it.
I need to do it again, Laurie.
Do it have a second? Did everybody get that?
We're approving,
Rudely interrupted.
we're approving these three template agreements for the letters of guarantee for developers with the approval of our legal department, that it's all legal and.
And I apologize, I didn't get it through legal before tonight.
But I think, this is a state.
I forgot to ask.
I fully intended, but
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Motion by Gibson, second by Marriott. Any further discussion?
One question, so if there is any amendments by our.
Yep, she said she'd
I'll
bring
bring
it
it
back.
back to the council. Yeah, no worries.
Just want to make this,
Your legalese.
Okay.
Let's do a study.
All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Carries, thank you.
So we're
I-
studying that now?
Item 10, safe routes to school. Discussion and possible action to consider approving an agreement with Utah Department of Transportation for safe routes to schools funding. Amy?
Yes, thank you. So before you this evening is a cooperative agreement for safe routes to school funding. And it's at 1100 West, from 4000 North to 3925 North. This is something that the city can apply to, for UDOT, or to apply for funding from UDOT, excuse me, and outlines the agreements and the terms here, provides for up to $50,000 for the total work. We don't know what any project costs are, so any project costs relative to the city will be brought back to the council for consideration, but this allows the city to receive funding in signing the agreement.
So is that like crosswalk stuff or what is this?
So this is, yeah, it's, if you remember, we had a request come into the city 3 years ago. We promised we'd look into some funding for it. So it's on 1100 West. It's just below 4,000. I'm trying to think of the Malmberg. Jad Malmberg is the gentleman that came before the council and asked us to look at. There's no sidewalk. There's a blind curve there. It's just that small stretch of sidewalk right there where the sidewalk ends and the street begins and on that blind curve. So.
And so the state's willing to provide funding assistance when there isn't an established safe route to school. So if there isn't a sidewalk or a designated pathway, then they step up and provide assistance. And
There isn't.
Weaver County School District participated in these two.
they did, they helped immensely with this, and Councilman Burgeri did as well.
I understand that section is real critical, but there isn't a sidewalk from Pleasant View Drive to that location. So, right, so really they're not safe.
Well, it's to address
A school route.
just to address that blind curve. It's
Yeah.
the purpose of this
There's a
particular.
whole lot.
Issue further, yeah.
Yeah.
Safer areas.
It'll
Yeah.
expand it to.
It'd be nice to get like $1 million to do it all. but, yeah. Baby steps.
That's where they need to cross to,
3,800.
because they're walking from there. Kids are walking from there to Loma View, right?
They're walking.
Bus? Why aren't the kids on a bus now?
You have to be a mile away.
Well, that's.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the agreement with UDOT for the safe routes to school. As stated in item 10.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Arrington, second by Uri. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 11 is a railroad crossing agreement. Discussion and possible action to approve a contractual agreement with Union Pacific in the amount of $5,000 for a railroad crossing. Tyson.
So this is the railroad crossing for the storm drain. I think you have the proposed plans. So they've accepted our plans to do the crossing. This gives you the right to enter that right away and maintain that site. You're basically buying your easement through them. We'll have to come back with the construction part when that's ready, but that's the bigger, roughly $630,000 estimate project.
Can we tack a road in onto it too?
No, not right there. I said no.
This is right by the park, right? Is that where it is?
Yes, this will make it so you can effectively release water from the multi-sports. And so a lot of the issue with it holding water back for so long is right now you're using an old railroad crossing. I think it's a 12-inch. And so it's your reduced orifice. So we can open the head gate as high as we want.
Why don't we
It'll
already have
stay flooded?
Why don't we already have an easement then with that old 12-inch?
It's because you're changing your use, you're upsizing, and so they had to vet out that whole, we basically just took over a drainage pipe.
Can we resell our easement before, get credit?
Don't think so.
Would be nice. Sorry, Mayor.
But yes, the crossing is your,
I don't have the agreement in my packet.
Something about.
Maybe that's it. It's fine.
So
should have the contract. Oh, oh,
So I don't know if this is time sensitive, but we'll probably need to table it if the council hasn't seen the agreement.
because I didn't send it soon enough. Oh, sorry.
Is it time sensitive, Tyson?
Can we make?
We just can't start the next portion, so this gets you under contract where we can then basically petition RailPro to the railroad as, they've contracted with, so they're the ones that are gonna be on site while you're doing the construction. So once this is approved, we can start the construction package and start working with that entity under the railroad. It's a very multi-process project. Oh, sorry, I must not have sent it.
All right.
So.
Okay, we'll get those distributed. And while Laurie's getting those, I did get, I guess Brandon was listening to our meeting, a text from Brandon, and he just, back on the boundary dispute item, indicated that the statute says the resolution adoption shows that the city intends to adjust the boundary, and then the 60-day comment period is essentially for objections. So I don't know if I characterized that, but okay.
Kind of.
I was like, I'm not sure if I completely clarified that. So I wanted to make sure. It's kind of, I don't know if it's all the snow. My brain is kind of scatterbrained today.
Can you clarify though that we're giving up some, or are we gonna get some?
Yes.
I don't know if that was ever clarified, was it? The question was brought up, Mayor.
Say yes. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and we'll do a study first.
So this agreement's for $5,000 for the,
The right to put your pipe under the railroad, basically. And start their process. It's the contract that you start the
kidding,
process with Rail Pros and.
Sure, you can put that 5,000. Okay.
So Mayor, while Laurie's getting those,
It's their liability, their
closed
rules.
session.
Yes,
we don't need a closed meeting.
We don't need a closed meeting, but I didn't know if we wanted to hit other business while we're waiting for Laurie or.
Well, I just
Can we
can,
do that without her?
yeah, as long as it's still being recorded.
Getting some copies of her.
Oh, okay.
Because we have.
So while you're standing up there, Tyson, why don't you cover your other business if you got anything else?
the big part with veterans is trying to get the bolt holes cored at this point, like that they were concerned with the granite and with some other issues. So a sales guy's coming out to make sure he knows what he's getting into and they're not going to affect the granite, because now you have the base in place and yeah, those are obviously new things for me to deal with. So it was.
Clock is, I am meeting Kevin Thursday morning to finish putting the clock together. So
Thursday morning.
Also,
They're beautiful. There were a couple of minor typos with the names and they were added thereafter, but it still looks really good.
anything else, like any snow going?
No snow, no. Just, obviously without the mechanic and trying to keep trucks running and hopefully it's at least mellowed out. So.
And I don't know if the council, our mechanic did resign, so we're going to be hiring a mechanic.
Oh, it's fun.
So we're playing, we got a few trucks down and we're doing the swap as what can you use, even if in limited, that doesn't ruin other things. So trying to keep enough trucks out there. So.
So this hasn't come in this one. I got some boxes.
This is basically ready to.
Let our pipeline cross.
Yes.
Amazing.
Is there any sort of? You don't
want.
I don't know. It's 5,000.
You're basically, if you're not following their rules, I'm sure they can kick you out or in the process, and you're not there as the overbearing authority of the space. You're getting their buy off on everything you do in there.
Yeah, it looks like there's termination information in exhibit B of the.
Notice of commencement of work, so on and so forth.
Lines, and if you think if you didn't have this in within a certain amount of time, you have to start over and with the first part of the process. And we've been working with Jones. I think we are 2 sets in on plans where they didn't like the plans
Really?
to even get to this part. So,
All righty.
yeah, it's been what we started about a year ago, started to try to get to this part.
Well, 36 inch says here.
So there's the whole-
Proposed an underground 36 inch.
That special part down off of the highway.
Yeah, so that's why it has held back water historically longer. So back to the games and trying to make it usable for a park. It'll help with all of that. In the long run, as you develop, if you didn't do this, so there's other issues on the stormwater side because it floods along the whole outer bank of that pond because it just can't move that much water.
So, we're putting a bigger pipe underneath. What is it connecting to on the west or would that be the south side, Mayor? I don't know.
West. To me. You would be south.
Do we have a bigger pipe on the end there? Is that just gonna go dump into what? What is it dumping on?
So there's a ditch that then runs south.
There's a ditch on the east. There's a ditch on the east side of our All Sports Park. And this is gonna go,
So that ditch drains to this point. That's what we're backing up
we're
into.
going into another ditch on the other side, because
Yes. We've only dug it out, I think, twice that I know of. But it's a ditch. It goes all the way
Is this-
back
Is
to,
this gonna be part of as we develop through that, is this gonna be then tied into the Horseshoe Pond or?
yeah, the GoGo already gave us the easement to work on that side. They own the property that ditch runs through. And then we have easement all ready to get through them if they were to develop or.
If we're putting more water in, I mean, that's just all I care about. We're, whatever on the southwest side, we're gonna be able to handle the water as we push a bunch.
Yes. Yes, what's there, and we're working with the future developers because you still need another regional pond before the interstate. And so we'll have to coordinate with whoever develops through those fields to get this. We would get rid of the ditch and try to take the straightest shot to wherever that regional pond is.
I'll make a motion that we approve the contractual agreement with Union Pacific for the amount of $5,000.
Motion by Arrington, second by Yuri. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. No closed meeting. Any other? You gonna go plow snow?
I think so.
Still snowing.
Either tonight or in the morning. So.
Okay. All right. Thanks. For all you guys do. Okay, Chief, you have?
Just a couple little things. As of the time of council meeting tonight, we handled 4 accidents this afternoon already. I don't know what we're up to now. But snow's having a little impact on traffic out there. We knew it would. We've been staying busy with domestic violence issues, few car burglaries, doing our training and budget, and we're just staying busy with those things. But other than that, things are going as usual.
Awesome. Thank you. Amy.
I don't have any specific items. We've been working through the legislative session. There's a lot of bills that may impact cities. I went down to LPC meeting down in Salt Lake today, and there was a lot of discussion on homelessness and working through some funding issues with that. So.
I heard, speaking of legislation, I heard there was a bill coming, or maybe it's even already there, maybe it's fallen off the radar, about portable license license plate readers.
There is one in security cameras as well for cities. I don't know. I think it was
Might want to do.
MIDI is the last I saw, but I can send over that information to police on that I've seen. There's a lot going on. Affordable housing is a big button issue once again. Looking at more there, there's
Okay, that's such a
Just getting so sick of that. All right,
Well, thanks to you all, we're in compliance, so thank you.
Ari? Ann?
Yeah, so a couple things. Dave and the mayor, Amy and I met with a fiber company. And things are, I'm not gonna say a ton or the public, but just things are looking really good. And they're willing to come invest in us, and all the parameters look really exciting. So keep our fingers crossed on that. And then we should find out soon on our pickleball grant, but we ranked 97 out of 100 points. Amy nailed that application. So things are looking really good for that. And we still have some fundraising to do on our end, but it's looking really good there too.
Thursday, because yeah.
Yeah,
I heard 98 was the cutoff. So.
what's not? We scored awesome. I think we're like number 2.
Second highest in the major grants.
Yeah, we ranked second among all applications.
Our Falcons gonna probably get their fish on too.
Anyway, that's all I got.
Thank you. Sarah?
Just, yeah, kudos to Amy. That was a good application.
I had help.
Lots of great feedback from the advisory board. And I'm meeting with Frank on Thursday for other projects and stuff, and also to give our thumbs up for the majors. So.
Okay, just a reminder on that. I think sometime around June, July, August, we need an item on the agenda or a work session or something to go over what we want to do for the next year. So
Yeah, I've had that on my radar. I think that we started too late this year, and it'd be really nice. And I don't remember if I've talked with Laurie about this yet, but she might throw something at me, so maybe I'll scoot away. I think it'd be really nice to maybe have it as part of the budget discussion. And so if there's projects that we're already funding or looking to fund, then we'd have those matching dollars already ready and available that we can take. And then that gives me more time than just a couple of weeks to pull together an application, although I can do it.
Well, we need
This money that we're not utilizing, and it's crazy.
to ensure 2 things. One is money. The other is time. You know, we can't do 7 major projects and expect staff to be able to handle that. So we got to have some conversations about that. So, okay. Anything else? Sarah?
No.
Dave?
So there's been lots of discussion about the big commercial building down at the bottom of 1100, which is good. But do we know if there's a tenant there? Right. It's owned by Kay Bailey, I believe, right? Still, or Boyer?
It's Boyer. So there's not a current tenant that I'm aware of. I don't know. They're probably in negotiations or discussions. We have had 2 meetings with EDC Utah out there with some prospective companies, and they give us no information as to who those companies are. And it's been manufacturing. Yeah, they're weird code names. I could throw them out at you and it could be a little bit confusing. So
Something LLC, right?
but as soon as we get information, I'm happy to make sure to pass that along. There is a lot of commercial kind of bubbling up, and we'll make sure to keep you in the loop as that is occurring.
And I just, I think that residents need to know that those have been zoned commercial for years, right? And to expect that in the future, that area needs, we wanted tax benefits, and we're going to get
clamoring for 20 years.
Yeah,
So,
right.
It really is frustrating, especially on the Pleasant View residence page. It was a little bit frustrating to me, just exactly what Dave just said. We've been fighting for this for years. And then to have somebody say, what is that big ugly cement thing? I'm sorry, this is what we want.
It's out.
You know, the shade of this, whatever, is going to block my sunset. Sorry, but we wanted
That might
this.
bring in a whole bunch of money, and
It's been zoned that way forever, right?
We placed it down there.
Well, you watch, we'll bring in a restaurant or we'll bring in some things and people will say, well, I didn't want that one. I wanted XYZ instead. Why did you bring that? Anyway,
And we're never.
here's the good part. Here's how I look at it. We have
Never
12 residents out there that are complaining constantly. We got 12,000 residents, 12 out of 12,000 That's not.
But they don't know, Mayor, and I maybe put that in there, just, say, we are developing this because we are now going to
Not every other
possibly,
newsletter I do.
we're possibly gonna have another little area. I don't want to talk too much about that public meeting, but that some of those things are going to come up again, and it's gonna change the look of our little city, but we wanted it. This is the fruition of many, many.
I agree.
things coming, and
And maybe we can work on something that, I mean, we've got to be careful because we got to keep, yeah, it's tough. So,
Well, I mean, the alternative is
but as
probably,
soon as we hear, we want to put it out.
the alternative is probably high density, which is not what anybody's wanted as well, right? So,
Either way, it's, you move in and you can't expect to fill the stay at forever. And if they wanted to know what that was zoned, they should look at it and realize it has to go this.
yeah,
And then
yeah. So
I get-
anyway,
I
just-
get
there's
it.
a lot of discussion. It is, it's changed and it's hard to see it. And so,
Anything else?
no, I don't.
Okay.
good luck in Mexico, Mayor.
I'll be leaving 25th to the 11th. So no problems, Steve's your man. Do we want to wait till we're completely done? And we got a finished product before we start talking about ribbon cutting or opening for the memorial? Would that be safest at this point is wait?
I think so. I think we're pretty close and hopefully we can get everything wrapped up before the weather warms up and then we can get something.
I'd like the weather to turn, I'd like a nice spring day.
are we looking for like a military holiday or a patriotic holiday or Founder's Day or?
I wouldn't mind their Flag Days in June, Memorial Day, it's the end of May. I hate to tie it in with Founder's Day just because I think it should stand on its own. It should be its own big thing and not just an activity at Founder's Day, but that's just mine.
The
So
nice thing with Flag Day too is, a lot of people don't go out of town for that, but it's still a very patriotic, important holiday.
When is Flag Day? What is the?
June 14th.
There's some players who were involved last time that wanted to come and, bring some things to it that have reached out and said, what?
Yeah.
I said, we will soon.
So,
But we don't know.
yeah, as soon as we hear, we'll see what we get back on that base and then maybe next meeting we can finalize it.
When are the
Okay.
benches for you? Okay. Right.
All right. Nothing else. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Fair say aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Forgot to bring up our VRBO.
VRBO.